of Hartford County, you probably should be taking shelter. It's hard to determine, since it's a very slow-moving system, if in fact it is headed in any particular direction right now. But we'll keep an eye on it here over the next couple of minutes and see if we can give you any update as far as where the possible center of circulation is. Here's the Dover radar. Okay, where are we on this, Doug? Pleasant Hills. Okay, yeah, you can see some very heavy rain there. Cars still making their way on. What road is that?
Oh boy.
Do we know what road that is? US 1? Okay, US. All right, Baltimore, Hartford County run on US 1. So we can show you where that is on radar here, and that's pretty much just to the top side, the north side of where the most intense precipitation is indicated. And this may also have some large hail associated with the storm as well. We were analyzing that just before, and hail was showing up in this storm system with about 3/4 inch diameter hail. It looks like a little bit less right now, but the hail threat looks like it's a little farther south in this area along 1, just to the north of Perry Hall, over 1/2 inch diameter hail possible there. And one of the indicators we use to see how intense the storm is how high up into the atmosphere the storm is building. Where you see that pink shading there, that is a really tall thunderstorm, up to 55,000 feet or so. I've seen it go up to 57,000 here in the past few minutes. So it is definitely a strong thunderstorm for sure, with a tornado warning in effect until 5:30. So everybody knows the drill as far as safe spots to be, the lowest level of your building, away from windows, and certainly get yourself inside a sturdy structure for sure. Tony Panda is joining me here in the Weather Center. Tony, any updates from social media?
I haven't seen anything yet. A lot of people are talking about the storm, though, saying they see it. Like you mentioned, it's over 50,000 feet tall. And for us around here, that's a big thunderstorm, obviously. 55,000 feet is what we call a supercell thunderstorm. And that developed right on the Bay Breeze there. It kind of like happened yesterday around the Dundalk area. For those of you watching around Dundalk and Essex, it was one lone thunderstorm, just like this one, that developed late in the afternoon on the Bay Breeze. Now that one didn't produce a tornado, but it did produce microburst winds, 60, 70 miles per hour. And there was some serious damage around Dundalk, and they produced, in 1 inch diameter hail with that storm as well. This one here obviously picked up a little rotation off of that Bay Breeze. There's not much what we call wind shear in the atmosphere. In other words, there's not a big change in wind direction with height.
Yeah, the most I can find here is using the a far off radar site up there in New Jersey, the Dix radar site, Fort Dix, and so you can see that that's catching some rotation up in the atmosphere, because the farther away the radar is, higher up that beam is going to hit the storm.
You catch the top of the storm while it's rotating, but down near the surface, it's kind of unusual for a storm like this to produce a tornado that's on the bay like that, especially when it's not moving. This one is just drifting.
Right.
I mean, you see that often with storms coming in from the west. They hit the Bay Breeze and they start to rotate. But I would say it's pretty unusual for a storm like this that's almost stationary to produce rotation there.
So when they issued this warning, the Weather Service told us a storm capable of producing this tornado was located over Perry Hall near Middle River and nearly stationary, which is kind of, I don't know if I've ever seen that. That is really weird to see that.
For a stationary storm to produce it, and that would mean that the tornado itself
would be barely moving.
Moving.
Yeah, maybe this storm is just, now you can almost, unless it's just my imagination, almost see this precipitation wrapping a little bit here.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Almost like a hook?
Yeah, almost like just a little bit there, just to the north of Perry Hall. So if we're going to estimate where a possible spin would be somewhere in here, maybe a little farther to the north there of that, sitting right there in that little notch, perhaps. So just to the west of 95 and east of the Route 1, there in the eastern part of Baltimore County, maybe drifting a little bit off to the east toward the southern part of Hartford County. That's where the warning is. So any possible tornado would probably go from north of Perry Hall over here toward the southern part of Hartford County, south of Pleasant Hills. Let me zoom in a little tighter there and just give you some indication. So maybe in the direction of from Perry Hall over to Joppatown, perhaps. But again, it's very hard to see it on radar. Weather Service, though, just kind of, I think, out of an abundance of caution, issuing this warning for this area. And again, that's the only kind of rotation I can see using our surrounding radars. That's BWI, not much going on there. Sterling is kind of shooting over the top of it, I think.
I don't know. I mean,
it's very hard. I mean, here you could see a little bit of a very weak hint. Winds going towards Sterling and away there. So you might say there could be some rotation just to the north of Perry Hall in that area there.
This could be a weather spotter or somebody in the network said they saw a funnel cloud.
Well, the warning said it was radar indicated, so I don't, they're just going based on radar, I think, unless they're, like you say, unless there's something else. There's just some weak circulation there But very heavy rain. I mean, even if there isn't a tornado there, the damaging winds and
The
the hail,
microburst rain,
the
yeah.
microburst
I mean,
rain.
what happens is when these storms start to rain really hard, it drags all the cold air from the top of the storm down to the ground. It hits the ground and spreads out. That's what we call a microburst. Again, that's what happened in Dundalk yesterday, and this storm is just eerily similar to that one yesterday. And the cloud tops yesterday were well over 50,000 feet,
Yeah,
and this one is what?
55,000.
55,000 foot top. I mean,
So
that's pretty impressive.
That storm is way up there, and it's just an indication of how intense the storm is. But pinpointing where the possible tornado is very difficult at this point to try to figure it out using wind speeds and whatever other details we can
And for those of
discern
you
here.
watching in other areas, I mean, if Tom, you pull out on the radar here, that's the only storm
Yeah.
around. So for those of you listening in other places, you don't have to worry too much about severe weather. It's just this one
very
storm.
small concentrated area.
Yeah, that's in eastern Baltimore County near the Harford County line. So
And again, I would estimate maybe in here over toward Joppatown, drifting there. Maybe that's the possible area here, just to the northeast of Perry Hall. Again, just east of US 1 and west of Interstate 95. Somewhere sitting in here, there might be some rotation. So everybody in this area should be sort of definitely taking shelter. You probably are, just from the rain and the intense rain, and you may have had some hail and some very strong winds just in the past few minutes up there with all that activity just outside of any tornado.
Yeah, go to your
threat.
safe place. Remember, it's
Yeah.
always good to go to the area of your house that is away from the windows. That's the most important thing. If you don't have a basement, just go to an interior hallway or a bathroom or something like that. Just get away from the windows. If you have a basement, obviously that's the best place to go, like Tom is showing you the graphic right there. But stay away from the windows. That's the most
We
important
want
thing.
to. I think our chopper is up. We want to take a look out.
Yeah, I
see if
mean,
we can get a
I
view of
tried to
this
see it.
storm. There we go. All right. So tell us where this is looking. What direction we're looking? We're south of the storm. Does anybody know where the chopper is? It's hard to get a perspective here when we're just looking at a
National
cloud.
Weather Service chat.
Can we see where Tim does? Okay, we're trying to find out. Yeah. Yes, Jason.
While they try to figure that out,
Yeah.
both of you
Mentioned the 55,000 foot and 57,000. So what does that mean? Like, what makes the difference between a tall storm and a short one? How does that? The
Well, if you
intensity?
just think about it, these thunderstorms develop as warm, moist air is pushed up into the atmosphere. So the stronger the updraft, the stronger the push up, the higher it's going to go. It's just
Okay.
shooting this thing up.
Yeah.
So weaker storms build to lower levels.
Okay.
Intense storms build to higher levels.
Okay.
So
And you were talking about it being, we had that storm not that long ago, and it was hustling across Maryland. I mean, we saw those warnings pop up.
Yeah.
What's holding this guy in place now?
yeah, well, this, like Tony said, it probably developed on the bay breeze, cool air coming off the bay, pushing inland. As the air over the ground heats up, it lifts, and the cool air over the bay slides in. So it's probably just feeding on that boundary and
Sure.
sitting right there.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll have a cold front come through and just sweep these storms right through. We'll have strong winds in the upper atmosphere sweeping them through. But this one appears to be just developing on that bay breeze. Now, we just had a report from the director that our chopper was over Towson area, parked in Towson, over in Baltimore County. So it's looking east at the storm from that
Got to
west
be
side of the
a safe
storm.
distance, obviously.
Yeah, safe distance away. Let's hope so, for
So
sure.
for those of you on the west
Yeah.
side of Baltimore, maybe in Howard County or something like that, if you look to the east, you're going to see the towering cumulus cloud from this storm. As Tom mentioned, it's over 50,000 feet. So
There's a new
you guys
warning
are going to
coming out.
see that if you look out your window and look to the east. They just update the warning.
Let's see what we've just got. Something just came
Oh, it's a
in
flash
here.
flood warning,
A
Tom.
flash flood warning now?
Yeah.
Okay. They got it. I'm looking here at the chat. The Weather Service did get a funnel cloud report right along the county line. So somebody did report a funnel cloud associated with this storm there east of Perry Hall toward the Hartford-Baltimore County line.
That makes sense.
So that does make sense, yeah,
I mean,
because
somebody
it's-
had to have seen something, a wall cloud or something rotating out of the bottom of the storm, or they wouldn't have
They
issued on a
typically
storm
wouldn't
like
issue
this.
something like this. Although now the Dix radar site over there, again, this is hitting the clouds. This is hitting the storm higher up, but there is rotation higher up.
That's from
For
Dover?
sure. This is from Fort Dix over
Oh,
there near
Fort Dix,
Philly,
okay.
east of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So,
So that's a long distance away.
got
So the
winds
top of
going
the
that
storm
way.
is rotating.
So
yeah.
there's a broad circulation here in the upper levels of the atmosphere that the radar is picking up on. So there is rotation there, and we did briefly see our radar indicating some rotation with the storm as well. So something is going on there, and the Weather Service said somebody reported a funnel cloud. So again, out of an abundance of caution, issuing a tornado warning for this part of Baltimore County into Harford County. It looks like anybody east of Perry Hall over toward Joppatown, south of Pleasant Hills, should be in your safe spot right now, taking shelter, and definitely do not want to risk being in a dangerous place when a storm like this is drifting in your direction. So sturdy homes or buildings, lowest levels, interior rooms or hallways, typically an interior bathroom is safe. Anything that's away from windows. So
yeah, I haven't seen any reports of anything on the ground. I'm looking at my social media feed. I don't see much of anybody reporting damage, at least not to me, on Twitter or X as they call it now.
And it could be everybody's in their safe spot, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope everybody is.
And waiting for this storm to go away.
And it took, just based on yesterday when this kind of a storm developed over eastern Baltimore County, it took about 45 minutes for it to quote unquote rain itself out. So what happens is when these storms develop on the Bay Breeze, they'll build really high up in the atmosphere, like 50,000 feet, and then all of a sudden it rains really hard and the whole core of the storm collapses on itself. And when that happens, it could be a big burst of wind out of the bottom of the storm, whether there's a tornado or not. We call those microburst winds, so that can happen. And then as that outflow goes away from the storm, other storms can develop on the outflow from the one thunderstorm. That happened yesterday. They don't often create storms as big as the original core storm, but there could be some other storms that develop around this one over the next hour or so.
So with this tornado warning, we also have a flash flood warning issued for this area too. So not only the risk of a possible funnel cloud or tornado in the area producing damaging winds, but flooding rains are occurring. Radar's estimating over 2 inches of rain there in the past couple of hours, and that's why the Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning. If you live in one of those flood-prone areas, you want to be alert. Get to high ground. Don't try to drive on these roads if they're flooded over right now. It could be very dangerous there with that heavy rain coming down, and of course the dangerous lightning that's also associated with this storm. So numerous threats, from the possible tornado warning, which goes until 5:30, to the possibility of flooding roads and flooding small streams up there in that area. I'm going to see if I can see any more rotation here. Perhaps the storm is becoming a little more well-defined. BWI should pick up on something.
It's close enough, you would think.
It's not really seeing too much there. It doesn't look it to me. And Sterling, Virginia, which issued the warning. Now there's a little bit more of a couplet there for Sterling.
That's Sterling?
Yep,
okay.
That's
Sterling.
Sterling.
That's
So
a little more
definitely,
impressive
so we
right
can
there.
definitely see some winds going that way and that way there. Let me zoom in a little tighter so we can see where that possible rotation is there. So again, now this one is now right along US 1, or just to the west of US 1, north of Perry Hall. But that, again, has been almost stationary. It's almost as if this storm system, is drifting. That would be a really strange scenario.
It would
with the
be,
funnel
yeah.
cloud kind of doing a rotation like that.
Maybe the funnel cloud is just rotating with the
It almost seems
with
that
the
way.
storm itself. Now, what Tom's talking about here, for those of you that haven't seen this kind of stuff before, the red is showing you areas that are moving away, air that's moving away from the radar site, and the green is areas that are moving towards the radar site, and that's how we can see the wind in the storm. So that red is moving away from the radar site, which is at the bottom left of your screen, and the green is coming around the top there.
And the radar is down in northern Virginia, so these winds are going toward Virginia, these winds are going away, and that possible rotation is sitting right in there. And again, not moving much, not like it's tracking over a long distance, but between Harford Road and US 1, Bel Air Road there, sitting right in that location. Looks like there may be a funnel or some rotation. Maybe it's not hitting the ground, but there's definitely rotation. And it looks like it has weakened here on this past little swipe.
Last scan.
BWIs may be going underneath it. I don't know. Maybe they're just not hitting it well.
It might be just too low.
And there's the Dix radar site. Let me see what the Dover radar site looks like. Maybe they're getting some rotation there, and that's pretty
nothing
messed
on
up.
Dover either.
Dover's had some problems with their radar recently, so that could be showing up too.
It needs, I think, a little tweak.
Yeah, State College, weak rotation.
That's way from State College. That's seeing the extreme top part of the storm.
Yep. So we're not really getting much indication here, clear indication at least from our radars as far as winds go. But we are seeing the storm building up way up into the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's a little weaker now. So there you go. This is the top of the storm.
It's starting to collapse maybe.
Top of the storm now down to 53,000 feet, marginally weaker on as far as that goes. And hail production still possible there, but not as much.
Not
so
as
maybe
much.
we're on a weakening trend there
That's
as
a
well.
good sign,
That's
actually.
a good sign there, much weaker wind. But this warning goes until 5:30. And let me check the chat room and just see if they're going to update anything on that.
Yeah, it's kind of, while you're reading that, it's kind of strange to see a storm, as we've been saying, that's not moving, producing a tornado. If you can visualize in your head, the whole storm is turning and rotating, and there are little vortices, little spins inside the storm. And what might be happening is a little funnel is kind of just like rotating around the base of the storm inside the greater circulation. So there's a small circulation inside the bigger circulation, and if there is a funnel cloud there, it's just going around in circles.
So
it's not moving.
Yeah,
it's
here's
weird.
an update. So the warning is no longer in effect for Hartford, but we're continuing it in Baltimore County. Weather Service says the possible tornado is located over Kingsville and is nearly stationary. Now, I don't think I have ever seen that.
No, I've never seen
nearly
that.
stationary tornado?
If there is one in there, it's going around in circles. That's what I was,
Alina, when you were in Kansas, did you ever see a stationary tornado?
I saw ones that sort of root themselves
Okay.
and stay in the same position. I mean,
Okay.
it's happened, but
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
not a very strong tornado.
Pretty rare to
rare.
have a tornado not moving. This is really kind of strange.
I
here, for
seriously
sure.
doubt if it's reaching the ground.
Near-
But
so
if
there's
any
some
of you
rotation.
are in there and you can
Yeah.
safely message or just hit me up on X here and
so
send me a
there's-
notification. And if anybody has seen a funnel cloud, I don't want you to run outside and take pictures or anything like that.
So this is the
But,
updated
oh,
warning
here's a
area.
picture I just saw. I'm going to retweet this. Hold on.
This is the updated warning area. Notice they did take Hartford County out. So the warning now for the possible tornado is just in that area of Perry Hall, just to the north of Perry Hall, probably between Hartford Road and Bel Air Road, sitting right in here. Weather Service says nearly stationary, so maybe wobbling, maybe drifting.
It's got to be.
You know, the potential there is kind of strange there for a tornado to be nearly stationary there in the eastern part of Baltimore County. But this storm does look like it's weakening. You can even see just by the intensity of the rain, you'll see a flash here of white and then down
then
to
it
red.
goes
So,
down. So maybe
the
it's
rainfall
collapsing.
intensity is getting less. The lightning strikes are getting less. Hopefully the storm system is showing signs of weakening, but we still have that warning going until 5:30. And some of the radars up in the top of the storm are showing some rotation here with the red and the green coming together. But the warning is now mostly in Baltimore County there, north of Perry Hall. What did you see on social media?
So somebody sent me a picture from I-95. They were driving down I-95 looking back at the storm. And you can definitely, I don't think it's the funnel itself, but you can definitely see the intake rotation or the intake updraft going into the storm. So what happens is with these kind of storms, they're like big engines. They have intake and outflow. The intake comes in the bottom of the storm and the outflow goes out the top of the storm. So a lot of times that intake rain or the intake air funnel starts to rotate. So I think that's what happened here. And if you look at my Twitter feed or X feed, I just posted a picture of that. You can definitely see the intake in the big storm engine, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's
Let's see. So I'd see if we're looking possible where this funnel cloud could be, it would be in the Perry Hall area there.
yeah, it's got to be right in there.
Right in that area there. Maybe a little broader possibility, possible tornado sitting in this area here. There's the chopper shot. Looking toward Perry Hall from Towson, we're told. So again, we're looking east there, and
You can't really see much in there.
significant in there, but definitely a severe thunderstorm. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And that's where the warning is in effect. So we're just at the behest here of the Weather Service to see when they're going to decide that the threat is over. They say it remains in effect till 5:30 for that part of Baltimore County, so they're not dropping it yet.
No, they probably won't drop it. They're going to keep it. But what you can see kinda in that image from Sky Team 11 is very often people report a green shade in the sky in tornadic thunderstorms. And what you're really seeing is the light refracting off the hailstones. That's what makes the green shade in one of those thunderstorms. It's not the tornado itself. Those big supercell thunderstorms produce hail, and this one was doing that, and that's the way it looks. The green comes off the hailstones. The light is refracted in the shade of green. So that's what you're seeing in there. So what else do we just pop up here?
Thunderstorm warning.
Yeah,
Severe thunderstorm warning
still
for the
monitoring
same storm?
Same conditions here. Yep, for this warning until 5:30 in this part of Baltimore County. Possible tornado in the Perry Hall area between Hartford Road and Bel Air Road, sitting in there. You should be really kind of hunkering down and waiting for this storm to either weaken or rain itself out. but it looks like if a cell developed, it was somewhere right up in here, and it is probably nearly stationary or drifting around in that location.
Yeah.
So the warning, and there's also a flash flood warning in effect, that goes until 8:15. It may take a while for all that rain to fall out. The rain is already estimated to be over 2 inches in a real short period of time there. That's going to flood the small streams and creeks.
Whew.
And possibly cause some dangerous driving on some of those roads up there in that location. But the main threat is this tornado warning that goes until 5:30, with the potential, at least, that there is a funnel cloud in that area. Weather Service said they had a report of somebody who thought they saw a funnel cloud, and so they issued the warning. But no additional updates coming out of the Weather Service right now.
I haven't seen anything on
Yep.
social media. It doesn't look like they're just going to let it go until 5:30, which is what they should do, just in case, unless the storm just really collapses here in the next 10 or 15 minutes, which it could do. Like I said, just based on the storm that developed in the similar fashion yesterday, it took half hour, 45 minutes for it to collapse on itself, and this one developed probably close to 45 minutes ago, around 4:30. So it should start to collapse on itself. It should rain itself out, quote unquote, in the next, I would say, 20 minutes or half an hour. But it's an impressive cell for sure right now. And like Tom said, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that, a storm developing on the Bay Breeze and not moving and producing a funnel cloud at the same time. So, but go back to the
Much
echo
fewer
tops.
lightning
Yeah, the
strikes, so
lightning
that's
strikes
good.
are going down.
That's really good news there.
And
for sure.
the estimated echo tops on that one have gone down, right?
Yeah, let's see. So there, I think we were down, hopefully under 50,000 feet, I believe. Let's see.
So when the storm's above 50,000 feet, we can call it a supercell. When it starts to collapse, you'll see the cloud top going down. What is that one?
46,000.
46,000. Okay, so it's starting to
Yeah.
collapse on itself. So that's kind of like the benchmark, 50,000 feet. It's not a hard and fast rule, but when you do pull that stuff up and you look at it online, 50,000 feet is like the threshold for what we'd call a supercell thunderstorm. And then when the storm starts to collapse, it'll go down 45,000, 40,000, and
It's
eventually.
really weird. Again, this is Sterling way up in the storm, but weak rotation here, but very weak.
Yeah.
For sure, but still, it's even in the time we've been monitoring this storm, it hasn't moved much. So it really is stationary here between Hartford Road and Bel Air Road, south of Pleasant Hills, north of Perry Hall. There's been some kind of rotation persistent in this location of Baltimore County. So yeah, if anybody up there has seen any damage or whatever, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. I mean,
If anybody can see it,
send me a message on
safely.
X. Tony Pan, WBAL.
yeah,
I'll
it's a
be
very
monitoring it
interesting-
here if any of you. I'm looking right now, Tom.
Okay, yeah, check that out. Oh, here's a picture. Where is this from? Is that on Tony's?
Oh, that's the one I was just talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see the intake draft up into the storm. Now that's probably not the funnel itself, but over on the right-hand side, you see that little thing that looks like a tail that's sticking out? That's probably the updraft going into the storm, and that is what starts to rotate and become a tornado or a funnel cloud. They don't just actually drop out of the sky and go straight down to the ground. They actually start from low to top. And the funnel becomes visible because water is condensing on the inside of it. Most of the time it's clear, but it takes a while for like clouds and stuff and debris to get into the funnel so that you can actually see it because air is clear, right? So
this person, would he be able to see the rotation that you're talking about? Or from at this point, it hasn't formed anything?
yeah, probably not. I mean, you would really have to look at the storm from a distance. Now, if you stare at a thunderstorm from a long distance,
Sure.
long enough, you can see the rotation. It's
Okay.
that slow. It's not like it spins really fast, the storm itself. Now, a tornado obviously spins really fast. But to see the rotation on a thunderstorm with your naked eye, you would have to stare at it for a long time. Yeah.
Well, we've
Weather
been
Service-
dry-ish lately, so what would this rain mean for areas that have not seen this kind of microburst kind of rain right now?
I mean, you know, we pretty much caught up in the rainfall department in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So the rain is still welcome, obviously, but not all in an hour.
Right,
You know,
right.
you don't want to see that. But
So the Weather Service has said they're going to just let this run and expire at 5:30. The Weather Service said that they'll just let this play out until 5:30. I don't think they'll cancel it early, but again, no additional information from them as far as what they're seeing or hearing from their network of observers in the area. It just appears to be a very heavy storm that started to rotate and possibly produce some damage there. It's definitely shrinking in size and intensity, so that's
Well,
a
you
good
notice
sign.
at the top of the storm there's another little cell developing. That's an indication that the storm is dropping its payload, so to speak, and the wind is spreading out on the ground, and these other storms kind of develop on the periphery of the main cell there. So you're kind of seeing that little cell right at the top of the storm.
Yeah, I'm going to put this over the past 3 hours now, and you'll see that it develops there and just kind of sits there. So yeah, you go back in time and you see it popping up around 3:30 or so, and then it just sort of sits over Perry Hall in that area there right on the Baltimore-Harford County line. Hopefully raining itself out and getting a lot weaker, but for the time being, this possible tornado is sitting there north of Perry Hall and south of Pleasant Hills in the eastern part of Baltimore County. So hopefully not much damage with it, but we do not know. We're not getting reports just yet. There's also a flash flood warning in effect for 2 to 3 inches of rain that have fallen in the past couple of hours up that way. That's going to fill up the small streams and low-lying areas there. So be very cautious driving in that part of Baltimore County. And certainly by now, hopefully you're already in that safe place in an interior room of a very sturdy building or the lowest level of a building, and wait for this storm to kind of rain itself out and move away.
I still haven't seen any damage reports. Now, that's not unusual. The storm is still happening. But I still haven't seen any damage reports, so that's a good sign. And look, the cloud top's down to 40,000 feet. I mean, you can almost track that in real time and watch the storm collapse on itself. It was up to 54,000 feet. Now it's down to 40,000 feet.
I think that might have been 49.
Or was it 49?
Yeah,
I should put my glasses on. Is it-
I think it might have pulsed up a little
Let's
bit here.
see.
Let's see what we've got.
Is
49.
that 49?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
well, it's
yeah.
under 50. That's good.
Yeah. But it's a dangerous storm, no doubt
Yeah.
about it there in that part of Baltimore. And look at that, and you can see that it's sort of heaviest rain is sitting up here, possible tornado up here, and the storm is sort of tilting off to the east here, the highest tops building off to the south and east along the that Baltimore-Harford County line. So stay safe, stay in your safe place up here. We'll let you know if we see anything additional information as we monitor the progress of this slowly weakening thunderstorm that's been producing flooding rains and a possible tornado there in the Perry Hall area of Baltimore County. No additional reports out of the Weather Service, so we'll just let this ride for a couple more minutes.
I don't think
and
there's
see if we
much.
get any
There's
more
no other
reports.
warnings in effect, right? No other severe thunderstorm
Not
warning?
right now, just this
in our
this one.
area?
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
the-
so. Let's just check.
Just the flood warnings and the flood watch that's in effect for the area across the region. The flood watch goes until later tonight, and then the flash flood warning and the tornado warning for that area. So
but that's the only one.
got a storm here up in Pennsylvania, and then the one here. So this is the strongest cell for sure, and this is the one that we've been monitoring for quite a while here, since the top of the hour, it looks like it really about. And the rain is pretty impressive too, so you can feel the moisture in the atmosphere, and this thunderstorm's pretty efficient at making that heavy rain in the Perry Hall, Edgewood area.
I think it's important to mention too, even though that flood watch doesn't include Harford County, obviously there's heavy rain in Harford County, so you guys could have some trouble as well.
This again continues to be our wind speeds from a long distance off at the Dix radar site in New Jersey, and you got some rotation broadly speaking in that area, but very broad rotation for sure, and nothing distinct.
Is that
we can
really
see.
the same spot? I mean, if you put that
Yeah.
into motion, that
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
I mean.
let's see.
I can't go back too
No,
far.
you
on
can't because
yeah,
it doesn't save
yeah.
it. But
So yeah,
it's pretty much the same
the
spot.
same,
Yeah. I mean, that's something very unusual. Obviously, you haven't seen that here.
Yeah.
Again, just think of a large spinning thunderstorm with a little vortice wrapping around the bottom of it. That's really all I can envision in my head. If there is a tornado in there, I doubt if it reached the ground, but there was probably a funnel cloud in there.
Yeah, they say they got a funnel cloud message out of it, but we haven't had any additional reports. Tony's got a wide network of on social
right,
media.
my wide network on social media,
and
right?
They have not. None of those folks have reported anything. So
I doubt if it reached the ground, but still, I mean, it's appropriate to warn on a funnel cloud for sure.
yeah, I mean, and you can get damage even if it's not a tornado. I mean, this at times was a severe thunderstorm capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour straight line winds. That'll snap some tree branches and things like that.
That's the
So
same
you
as a
gotta-
weak tornado. I
For
mean,
sure, you got to
know.
be very careful.
And over a wider area.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's why the microbursts are just as dangerous in some cases as tornadoes, because those microbursts will come down and knock over trees and all that kind of stuff in a much wider area than, say, a small, weak tornado that's just kind of drifting on the ground. So in some cases, a severe thunderstorm is worse than having a weak tornado go through your area.
Yeah, so we're getting some pretty good shear
78,
there up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But again, the crazy part about this is that has been sitting right there, just north of Perry Hall, on the west side of US 1 and the east side of Hartford Road 147, and pretty much not moving, just sort of spinning there. So that is obviously a dangerous situation. And the warning goes until 5:30
So
for
got less
rain
than-
and possible damaging winds.
Yeah, you got less than a minute left. Just stay in your safe place, just in case. Even though the tornado warning is going to expire, if you're underneath that storm, it really hasn't, weakened all that much just yet. Just stay in your safe place for a while until the storm rains itself out and things settle down. Don't come out of the basement if you're in the basement. Don't come back out of the hallway if you're in the hallway. Just stay there for a little while, even though this tornado warning is going to expire at 5:30.
Yeah, we should be coming up on that, and we'll see the warning leave the map, and we'll stick with you there until then, just to make sure they don't reissue anything. It is, unfortunately, looking like
Is it pulsing back up?
Might be getting a little bit stronger there on that south flank of it there, but we have no indication yet that they're going to reissue. But you notice that intensity of the rain is picking up there, right on US 1. So it's hopefully
it's pulsing.
not
Is what it
regaining
happens.
life. Yeah,
It collapses and then it builds back up
yeah.
and it collapses.
But the
and
warning has expired, so
Yeah.
for now we're going to give you the all clear on that, and we are going to send you to a break and be back with more news coming up right after this.